back with another fun-filled video for you. And this is just a follow-up video to my Mitchell Clark Gunstock, which is the latest knife in my custom South African knife collection. I was just blabbering on and on the last video and didn't really talk about why I chose Mitchell Clark, and I kind of want to rectify that situation now. So this is the Mitchell Clark Gunstock that I own. This has L4 scales on it. White L4 scales. Now, white L4 is basically a synthetic ivory, which is what this is. It's got mother of pearl inlay on the blade. Really just a clean design. And mother of pearl on the pivot with black, or not black, but Damascus backspacer and Damascus pocket clip. The action on this knife is incredible. See that? Absolutely incredible action. It stays right there and then it drops. One of the features of this knife is the one that you don't see, which is hidden hardware. There are no screws on this knife. I had asked Mitchell Clark to do hidden hardware on it. Hidden hardware is a very special skill that he has over time with each knife perfected, and he does an amazing job on that. I mean, the only screw you see on this knife is the pivot. That's it, which he's actually covered with an aesthetic, which is the mother of pearl. You take a good close look at that mother of pearl. It is just pretty. The knife is a front flipper. And the detent, again with the action, look at that, that's nuts. And then it drops. Man, I don't know how he does that. So, yeah, it's a front flipper. So you open it with your thumb, right? And if you wanted to take a good close look at the jimping, as you can see, the jimping is very finite. You know what I mean? It's all evenly done all the way up to the top. Some jimping, sometimes it's a little bit wider on certain parts of the blade and then a little bit closer. Here, he's actually done it where it's finite all over, and it actually works. Because jimping is supposed to have like a double purpose. It's supposed to give you good grip to flip it, and then when you grip the knife, it's supposed to give you something to hold on to. And Mitchell Clark actually used this close-up jimping, you know, where it's all together like that, as a way for it to be like a dual purpose on it. You know, in other words, you can easily use it to grip the knife when you're using it, and at the same time it also allows you to flip it with ease, and you don't have to find like where is my finger supposed to go when I flip this thing. The centering on it is just dead. I mean, look at that. Just look at that. Now, Mitchell Clark has not been making custom knives for very long, roughly about 7 to about 8 years now he's been doing it, and he has gotten to this level of perfection in a very short amount of time. So he's actually gotten better and better with each knife. I mean, every time he builds something, there's something that he's doing on it where he is slowly just getting better over time. Now, if you were to take a look at this piece here, I mean, you can see there's not a lot of aesthetics, right? But the entire knife is the reason why you go for Mitchell Clark, okay? In a sense that his design is so clean and so tight. And the sad thing about that is it's very difficult to convey that in a video. I mean, you're not really going to get the full gist of Mitchell Clark designed knives unless you buy one, sad to say. But I'll tell you one thing. I've been carrying this knife now for 2 weeks, and I've got, over 40 custom South African custom knives that I own, but I keep going back to this one just because of the way the knife feels in my hand, the way that I can feel when I'm using the knife. Not using the knife. I haven't used this thing. This is pretty much gonna be a safe clean. But when I'm looking at the knife, I never get tired of marveling at the craftsmanship because it's insane. I mean, come on, guys, look at this. It stays. The only way this is going to drop is if I put a little bit. But he's purposely made his action that way. I don't know of any other knife maker that produces action like that. And I'm talking about some really great knife makers that have been doing it for years and years and years and years. He has just blown me and everyone that owns a Mitchell Clark knife has been blown away. Now you got to keep in mind this guy is incredibly young. He's only 30 years old, which tells me that the amount of time that he takes to create each knife is probably forever. I waited 2 years for this knife, to let you guys know that. From the conception of the knife all the way to the end of actually getting it. Yeah, it took 2 years. And there was actually a point where I completely forgot that I ordered the knife. And then one day he said, okay, well, the knife's done. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and pay for it. So I did. And his wait times, while they're 2 years, I guess I can tell you as a customer, it's worth it. It is worth it. I mean, you simply need to get a hold of one of these in your hand. I also like to suggest that if you're going to get one of his knives, get the 3.6-inch size so you can get a good feel for his skills. You could probably get away with it also if you were to get a 3.2 size inch knife. He also makes it in I think 2.7 or 2.8, a really small size, for those that want to have like the really small knife, which I'm going to get, by the way, if I'm lucky enough to get on his books. That's the other thing, too, is that Mitchell Clark is a very, very, he's a man with morals, unfortunately. So he won't play favorites. If you get on his books, you're just going to have to fight to get on like everybody else. He doesn't play favorites. And he's got quite a few customers that have already figured out how he lets people know when to order from him on his books. To get on his books, so they're like ready to go. They just know when he's gonna start to open them up. At this point in time, he's still working on his old orders. So as soon as that's done, I'm sure he's going to pick up and open up his books again after a long rest, probably. I'm guessing. But yeah, I mean, I've seen so many South African knives over the last, I'm going to say, decade. That's how long I've been in this hobby. Because my collection is strictly South Africa. South African knife makers. There's just something about the South African knife maker and how they approach knife making that just I find incredibly attractive. Whether they're a South African knife maker that works with CNC machining, like Clyde Challenor, or guys like Mitchell Clark, who came out of nowhere and just possessed skills that are this top notch. And he's not really even in the mainstream. He's not in the mainstream in a sense that is he anywhere near as far as promotion of Clyde like Clyde Challenor and Trevor Berger and Andre Thorburn and Rugus Blumeris, to name quite a few of really great South African knife makers that I love and that are in my knife collection currently. I don't know, or I don't think it's really all that important to him. He really just loves to make knives. Mitchell Clark started out as working in finance. nothing to do with knives, just working on finance. And then he one day got together or had met Lawrence Prinsloo, who, by the way, is also in my knife collection. And Lawrence Prinsloo kind of mentored him, and he began very slowly learning how to build and make knives. And now he's gotten to this point. Now, why am I blabbing on and on about Mitchell Clark? Because when you buy a custom knife from a custom knife maker, there's usually a reason why you're buying from that knife maker. Maybe you like the model, maybe you like his models. Maybe you enjoy the aesthetics that he works with. Maybe you enjoy the materials that they put on their knives. There could be a variety of reasons why you go with a particular South African maker. And that's usually the route that you go when you're dealing with, say, South African knife makers like John Arnold, like Andre Thorburn, like the legendary Des Horn, a man whom I own 6 of his knives in my collection. And I'm sorry to say that I couldn't get to the 7th one, but I will be getting to the 7th one soon. Over time, okay, those knife makers, and that's why I'm mentioning them, those knife makers have built up a reputation for building good quality knives, but you can never really pinpoint why you really go for those guys. Not right away. Usually it's, you see something on Instagram, you look at it, you go, oh, wow, that's pretty. I'd like this guy to make my knife for me. And that's usually how it starts, right? With Mitchell Clark, it's kind of difficult to say that would be the reason. I'll tell you why. This is the only model that he currently makes. The only model. So you can't sit there and say, well, I like the Gunstock, because you're going to have to like the Gunstock. It's the only knife that he makes, right? You also can't say that you don't have a lot. I guess when I'm having difficulty in communicating this, you don't have a lot of reasons to go for Mitchell Clark right off the bat. You just look at his stuff and go, okay, well, that looks really nice. But there's a presentation side to Mitchell Clark that I have only seen through him, because he doesn't make knives the traditional way that other knife makers do, and he also doesn't have a reputation quite just yet. So his audience is very, very small, but his small audience, I'm telling you, these guys, and now I'm part of that small audience, will continually buy a knife from this guy for one reason and one reason only, and that's the build. That's the reason why you go for Mitchell Clark. His build is so spectacular. Take a look at how tight and how clean the design is. The action alone would probably make you buy it. You know what I mean? The centering, the way he pays attention to the centering, that would be another reason why you would go for Mitchell Clark. Now, these are all the basics. That's my point. These things that I'm mentioning, the action, the centering, and all that stuff. That's the basic, right? You look at it, well, if it's not good, I'm not going to buy the knife. That's true. That's very, very true. But with Mitchell Clark, it's like the basics, he goes overboard. And it's just, like I said early in this video, the sad thing about it is, unless you buy one of his knives, you're not going to notice that right off the bat. But his audience, like myself and my good buddy Angelo, who's owned quite a few of his knives, he's like standing by, waiting to get on his books again. And, we're all going to have to fight to get on this guy's books. He's kind of like a secret. Very few people know about Mitchell Clark, but yet the people that do know about him want him to build them a knife over and over and over again. Now, the good thing about Mitchell Clark as well, once again, is the materials that he uses, because he only makes one model, right? And he doesn't spend a lot of time redesigning his knives. He's just going to make this one model. He spends a lot of his time, like I said, on the build of the knife. And he also spends a lot of time trying to figure out what other materials he can put on his one model that he has out there. Like, what new materials could he put on here? And as far as I understand it, what materials you can have on his knife are almost limitless. He works with meteorite. He works with organic and inorganic materials. He can give you G10. He can give you carbon fiber. He can give you mother of pearl. He can give you L-Foreign, which is a very, very... I think he's the only knife maker I've heard that's using that material. It's synthetic ivory. He can give you zirconium if you like zirconium, Damascus, black Damascus. He can do all kinds of things. Give you the hidden hardware, and I'm going to suggest that you guys get hidden hardware. It would cost a little bit more, but if you're going to go for Mitchell Clark and you want that clean design, it just kind of lines up with the overall look of the knife. In other words, you'll be marveling at the basics like I am, time and time again, right? Which is not something that I do with a lot of other knife makers, because, I don't do that with Arnold Thorburn. I don't do that with Arucas Lumeris, because those guys have already built a reputation. It's just a given. That your knife is going to be spectacular. But I'm going to have to say that Mitchell Clark, I hate to say it, but I think he goes a step above what the seniors do in that sense. He wants to give you the knife of your dreams. And proof of that is, like I said, I've been marveling at this knife, this white night knife, I guess is what I'm going to call it, for 2 weeks now. And I keep looking at it, and I keep holding it in my hand like I got it yesterday. I'm not bored with this thing quite just yet. Every time I look at the knife, I'm seeing something new, something different. That I didn't see before. So I feel something different that I didn't feel before for this knife. If you take a look at even just the blade. I don't know what kind of finish that is. It's supposed to be hand rubbed, but it's kind of mirrory. That's another thing too. It's mirrory. His blade finish is, it's just it looks like it's hand rubbed, but you can see the lines in it, and it's mirrory, which I don't know. I can actually see myself in it a little bit. As far as the blade itself, he gave me a micro bevel on the sharpening edge there, and it is consistent all the way through. That's probably one of the main reasons why I would never even sharpen this knife, because even that is an artistic statement right there. Look at the edge of that blade. It is ridiculous. Everything precision. And it's all done by hand. He doesn't use CNC machining. That's another reason why it takes 2 years for you to get your knife, because he's not going to release it and put it aside saying that it's ready until he says it's ready. It has to go through the Mitchell Clark test. And if he's not satisfied, you're not going to get your knife until he's worked out all the kinks. I'm kind of hoping that he's going to continue, because right now, I believe he's a part-time knife maker. He's planning to go in as full-time. And I'm kind of hoping that once he goes full-time, he is not going to lose any of the tightness, any of the perfectness of his build. That's going to stay the same. I don't think it's going to go away. Mitchell Clark is sort of Very, 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 very focused knife maker. Just a very focused knife maker. Each time he makes a knife, I can tell from holding this knife that when he makes a knife, it's almost like some sort of religious experience or something as he's building it. Now this knife cost me $9.75. So to get a knife from Mitchell Clark, can you get a knife from him with under $1,000? Yes, you can. Even though $9.75 isn't cheap, we're talking customs. If you're watching my channel, then you know how much customs cost and what it takes to go through the process of having a knife made for you. And Mitchell Clark is truly an amazing knife artist. I would like to suggest to everybody out there that watches my channel, if you're looking to get into custom knives and you want your very first custom knife, get a Mitchell Clark. Unfortunately, once you get a Mitchell Clark, you may be trapped into the Mitchell Clark syndrome and may never get another knife from any other knife maker ever again. He's that good. He is that good. I have introduced Mitchell Clark to Clyde Challenor, and even Clyde Challenor was amazed at his skills. He said that his only downside is that Mitchell Clark works incredibly slow, which brings me to another point. Everybody that buys Mitchell Clark's knives know how slow he is in the process of knife making. However, I will say this. If people don't care, and at this point in time, his customers don't care how long they wait to get a custom knife from him. They don't care. So obviously that doesn't hurt his business because the final product is all we care about. And I'm telling you, 2 years is the longest I've ever waited for a knife. And I'm going to tell you it was worth every penny and all of my time waiting for this knife. Because now that I have it, there's like this sense of relief. I'm so happy that I got it. And I can't stop holding it, and I can't stop looking at it, and I can't stop marveling at it. And I'm one of the few people that is lucky enough to actually own one of these knives and actually even do a video on it. I'm very happy to do this for Mitchell Clark and for myself. Because, he's not, I'm doing this because I wanted to show this knife off and talk about it. And, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell from the sound of my voice that I won't shut up about it. I've held a lot of South African customs, and none of them have ever given me this much excitement for this long a period of time after I purchased it. Most knife makers, I still get excited over their knives, and I'll go back and I'll carry their stuff, and I'm going to love it. But there's something about the Mitchell Clark experience. I mean, come on, guys, look at this. Look at how beautiful. God damn. And if that doesn't excite you, I don't know what's going to. Just to sit here and do this. And it's not like this is going to loosen. If it's going to loosen, it's going to stop doing that. It stays. That takes skill. That takes precision to do that. So, that being said, this is my follow-up video to my Mitchell Clark Gunstock. Definitely consider Mitchell Clark as your next knife purchase. If you can get on his books, stand in line. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you go talk to Mitchell Clark and you say, hey, you know what? I saw Omar's video on his Mitchell Clark. Can you make me one? You never know. Maybe you'll be able to talk him into putting you on. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that because there's a lot of people that have done that and they're not going to be able to. The fact that I'm doing this video does not give me, frontline status to get on his books for another Mitchell Clark. No. I'm going to have to stand in line with everybody else. And that's just a testament to Mitchell Clark's character. You're going to have to accept that. I'm going to have to accept that. And I'm going to have to just consider myself lucky that I even own even one of his knives. Am I going to get another Mitchell Clark knife? I don't know. Do I want to get another Mitchell Clark knife? Yes. I just don't know if I'm going to be lucky enough to get on his books. So anyway, I'm going to close out this video. That's it for my Mitchell Clark Gunstock follow-up video. I just had to do a follow-up video because my last video on Mitchell Clark, I was just blabbing on and on and on, and I didn't get a chance to actually speak out and say why. Why Mitchell Clark? Why is this guy such an important person in the South African knife community? If you want exceptionalism, if you want total focus, if you want perfection in a blade, knowing how long it takes that this knife is going to be made, you're going to go for Mitchell Clark. That's all I can say. He's still very early in his career. He's still figuring out a lot of kinks. Yeah. Mitchell Clark Knives. Check him out on Instagram. And as I close this video out, again, I'd like to mention theknifeenthusiast.com, your great source for all things, all knives. Check them out on Instagram. Check out their website, theknifeenthusiast.com. You can buy knives there. You can sell knives there. You can find any knife information you want on knives, whether it's a custom knife or a production knife. The Knife Enthusiast, they want to be the #1 source for all things, all knives. This is Omar, your South African knife guy, coming at you with Mitchell Clark Gunstock from South Africa. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. I'm going to close with the opening and the action. There you go, Mitchell Clark. Thank you so much. Have a good day.